everybody. I'm here with Sean Weiss from Fortinet. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing so well. So I hear that you came all the way from Calgary for the event.
I did.
Yeah, were you excited for it?
Yeah, I love Vancouver. It's always great to come out here.
How is it so far?
It's been good. Yeah, a lot of great booths, a lot of great speakers. Yeah, it's been good.
Yeah, so as I understand, you weren't the speaker, but you're with the team. And can you summarize what the talk was about today?
Yeah, so today, Mauro and Warren were talking about a technology called CNAPP, which stands for Cloud Native Application Protection Platform. And essentially what CNAPP is, it's a bit of a newer sort of paradigm on cloud security that consolidates a lot of different tools into a single pane of glass, offering a very comprehensive, very wide, and offering a lot of depth and breadth for all the things that kind of cover off what's needed in cloud today.
And tell me, why is this such a big deal?
So I think there's really two reasons for why CNAPP is becoming a big deal. One of them is, I think we see a lot of customers' maturity level in cloud getting very mature. And what I mean by that is, in the early days of cloud, a lot of times cloud was used more for like maybe backup or maybe for lab environments or things that were maybe not front and center. And I think now though that's sort of shifted in that a lot of customers are using cloud first, right? So rather than having anything on-prem at all in their own data center, a lot of those workloads and a lot of the production is now in the cloud fully. I think the other big reason for why something like CNAPP is becoming, or security in general is becoming more important in cloud, is things like containers and DevOps and app development. Some of these tools or some of these paradigms in cloud kind of require their own tool sets. They're a little bit different than what we've traditionally had at our disposal. So I think just cloud's maturity is what's really driving things like CNAPP forward right now.
That makes total sense. And your talk, or your team's talk, talked about zero-day attacks.
Yeah.
And tell me, why is it such a challenge when dealing with these threats?
Yeah, so 0 days, the problem with 0 days ultimately is that they are an attack that no one knows about. So it's signatureless. So in other words, there's no way for us to, and I say us as an industry, there's no way for us to be able to detect them based on current technology. And so that becomes tough, right? So maybe you have a firewall that's protecting the outside from the inside, and as traffic is coming through it, if you don't have the ability to scan that traffic and compare it to a signature, then to you it looks fine. And so a 0 day generally is taking advantage of some sort of vulnerability in code that no one has yet found except the bad guy. So it kind of puts the defender on the back foot, kind of puts you into an unfair fight. And so 0 days are a huge problem. And so one of the ways we try to tackle that is just trying to look at the behavior of traffic as it comes into the network. So one of the things that CNAPP does is it uses AI and machine learning to try to get an understanding of, okay, I don't have a signature for this traffic, but this is deviating from baseline. It's deviating from the normal. It's doing actions or things that maybe don't point themselves out as nefarious by themselves, but as we sort of take a look at that traffic as a whole, it's doing something that's not normal. And so that's one of the ways that we're trying to go after 0 days, is maybe get away from a signature-based approach to something that's leveraging machine learning and baselining and deviation from baseline.
And just to circle back a little, the term 0 day, what does that imply specifically?
So basically 0 day means it's an attack that no one has yet discovered. And we call it 0 day because the defenders don't know of its existence, right? So us being the defenders. And it's something that an attacker can exploit without worry that the defending side has a way to identify it. And so these are extremely dangerous.
Yes.
Because there just isn't a good defense, because there's no way to map it to a signature, which is traditionally how security has been done in cybersecurity. It's been to try to signaturize an attack and then match that as it enters a security control of some kind.
And then how does Fortinet come into all of that?
So that's where the CNAPP product and its AI and machine learning becomes important, because if we can't match it to a signature, then what we try to do is match it to its behavior. So rather than looking at it from a signature point of view, are you black, are you white, are you yellow, orange? Instead, we kind of look at the behavior, like what is it this traffic is trying to do? Is it accessing a database it's never accessed before? Is it consuming more data than it normally consumes? Is it coming from an IP address that I don't have any branch offices from? So those are kind of some of the different scenarios or behavior algorithms that we'll use when trying to determine that, okay, I don't have a signature for this, but at the same time it doesn't look good. And so yeah, that's kind of an important part of where security is going today.
And you think, is that what sets Fortinet apart from competitors?
That's certainly one of them, yeah. The behavioral-based engine trying to be, detecting attacks without relying on signatures, yeah.
What are some other ways that Fortinet can stand apart from its competitors?
So something else I really love about the CNAPP product that we find very productive for admins is something we call polygraph. And what polygraph is, it's a very graphical way to represent an attack path. So one of the problems security operations will have is when they get inundated with events and incidents, trying to sort of look at all that data and try to understand how exactly did that attack come into the network, where is it going, what are some of the other related activities around this attack path. What we've done with our polygraph technology is we've put that into a graphical representation. So we put it into a graph, and we essentially show all the different incidents or all the events that make up that attack. And so it gives a SOC admin a very easy, quick way to drill into what's important in that attack and understand what other parts of the network are at play.
Sounds fascinating, and you seem so well versed in this. How long have you been doing cloud security?
So I've been in cloud security for probably about 10 years, and then security in general for probably a good 20. Yeah.
And in your opinion, what's the critical first step when building that cloud security that is going to withstand a zero-day attack or prevent it? What's the first step?
I think security in general, whether it's cloud or otherwise, I think it really the critical first step in security is having a plan or some kind of strategy. I think sometimes we rush too quickly to buy and build tools, but I think without a strategy or a plan in place, you don't necessarily know if you've bought the right tool or if you're utilizing the tool correctly. So I think that's really the first step, is just trying to have a strategy or a plan in place.
Sounds great. And what are common misconceptions or myths that surround this area that you'd like to debunk today?
Yeah, so that I think would be one of the main ones is people too often, I think, run to a tool or a product to solve security issues. And security really revolves around three things: people, processes, and product. And you can't really have a security solution when you're only focusing on one of those three. So it's security is very cyclical in nature, and it takes the right processes with the right people and training to use the right product to really build a true security solution.
Oh, that makes sense. And what are other common mistakes that people make when trying to build security?
I think another big issue that we need to address, especially in cloud, is this whole notion of misconfiguration. So one of the blessings and problems with cloud is that when cloud was developing services and solutions, they went at it in a way that they wanted to make it very easy and quick to get up off the ground. And so some of the defaults that they'll use, some of the permissions that come with it by default, some of the security controls that get wrapped around it as you build and implement a cloud service, a lot of them are very permissible, and they need to be hardened and locked down. And so I think the problem in the industry today is you'll find very few people who will tell you they've got more people than they know what to do with in IT. So a lot of these projects where someone is building something in the cloud, they'll build it up real quick and they'll say, you know what, I'll worry about security tomorrow. I just want to get this thing running today, we'll lock it down tomorrow. And of course it never gets locked down. And so you end up with this environment that's very permissible, not a lot of controls, and no one goes back to think about, oh, is this safe? Is this secure? Or when am I going to fix it? And so I think this whole notion of misconfiguration of the cloud is quite an issue. And that's where CNAPP comes into play, because CNAPP can take a look at that environment, it can audit those configurations, it can audit the misconfiguration, and it can give you an alert, and it can give you a best practice on okay, here's something that's maybe not implemented correctly, and here's a process that you can implement to lock it down.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to get a little bit more personal now, because you've been talking about this for so long, and I can see that there's a passion there. And I see that your background is in criminology. So how did you get into cloud security?
Yeah, that's a funny story, and I won't bore you with all the details. And some people kind of do look at me and kind of go, "How did you ever end up in cybersecurity?" But really, at the end of the day, criminology and cybersecurity are not that far apart.
Really?
Criminology, just like cybersecurity, is all about protecting the good guys from the bad guys. It's about security, right? It's about trying to keep people safe. So I think for me, the core of the mission is the same in either discipline. And so for me, it even though it took a roundabout way to get here, the two don't fall far from each other. In fact, I'm willing to bet if you took a criminology course today, or program, if it didn't have some sort of cybersecurity piece to it, it should.
What was that transfer like? How did your career take you from criminology into cybersecurity? Did you take a course? Did you just fall into it?
Yeah, so after I graduated in criminology, the dream was to become a policeman or a police officer at the time. So that didn't end up working out so well. And so I decided to get into IT. All my buddies were doing computer science, and so I ended up going back to school, getting a diploma in network administration. And then as I was in network administration, just kind of doing your typical networking, cybersecurity started to become a thing, and it just resonated with me at the time. And I think because I was so interested in criminology when I was younger, that's where I kind of got my passion for this part of the industry, this niche of IT. Yeah.
Yeah. So one final question. I see that you're also a soccer coach. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So soccer's always been a passion of mine since I was, probably before I could even walk, and I even play soccer to this day. And I've always coached my kids' teams, my two younger girls, back when they played. And so coaching for me is important. It's something else I have a passion for. And there's a lot of synergies, I think, between coaching and managing and building a security practice. I think coaching is, at the end of the day, coaching is all about mentoring and enabling and building strategy. And I think those are topics that resonate when you're building a security practice of excellence. I think those three things come into play, especially the whole notion of strategy. If you think of maybe a soccer coach as they played an opposing team, coach comes up with a strategy on, based on my team's strengths and weaknesses, I need to beat the other side. And he takes their strengths and weaknesses into consideration, and you have to build a whole strategy around that. I think cybersecurity is no different.
I can definitely see that. So as a coach and as a cybersecurity expert, what's that one key takeaway that you want to leave to the people watching at home?
So I think coming back to one of the other questions I had, it's about having a plan. It's about having a strategy. So before you buy a product, before you start making decisions on an action plan, you kind of need to have a strategy and a plan in place. And one thing I'll say about that, if you're at all lost on where to start, don't be afraid to bring in a consultant. Don't look to a managed service provider But if you don't have the capability, there's definitely services and organizations out there that can help. But it all starts with a plan.
So you got to have a plan.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sean. This has been lovely. And I hope you enjoy the rest of Vancouver Cloud Summit.
All right, thanks.